I'm just doing the introduction part, but Martin Swain of Shell. I look after digital construction in Shell, which is globally. But fundamentally, I sit at the centre of the wheel, trying to connect different projects, different assets, and good intentions. One of the things we found was Patrick from Skye, what he was doing on one of our assets. But just to give it a 1 minute potted history of drones and Shell. So back in about 2016, it was pretty uncontrolled. Actually, it was like a bit of a nightmare. We probably all remember those days. But but slowly we've got under control with Shell Aviation. Shell Aviation is the people who control our helicopters, our private jets, everything, anything in our airspace. So we have now Shell Aviation approved drone suppliers. So you can't fly a drone on the Shell facility without being Shell approved. So we've got that under control. So now the next phase is, okay, how do we now move forward into the next phase, the next generation? Now, obviously, in talking to Patrick today and previously, everyone wants to jump to the completely automated drone flies itself. Lots of challenges in that space, and we kind of view it that it's very much a staircase approach to this. We do one piece, we prove it, we share it with another part of the world, etc. The next, what's a great development with our now R&D department, which is PTX, which is global, part of India, America, UK, and Netherlands, is developing these next phases, these pilots, these POCs, etc., and then pilots, to prove to the business what we can do next, where we can add value. So now I'd like to hand over to Patrick from Skye, and he's going to tell you about one of the projects that we've got running. That's my bit of paper.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks, Martin.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Patrick. I work for Skye. We're a UK and Dutch-based company, headquarters in Netherlands. I look after the UK team here. My background is a GIS analyst. I've been in the industry now since around 2012, 2013. As I said, a background in GIS analyst and surveying mostly. So that's the core business for me in the UK. Questions? I don't know if there's any. But as Skye, so I've been part of Skye since 2016. Skye started off life in the Netherlands in 2013, same time as I kind of started my career in the industry in the UK. And Skye, Peter Franken, who kind of set up Skye, he's always been at the forefront of permissions and pushing legislation and things like that. So Skye in the Netherlands are actually the first company to get permissions to fly back in 2013. And his aptitude for writing compliance documents and things like that is second to none. So we're very fortunate to have him there. So with this in mind, what's happened recently, so over the last few years we've been working with clients like Shell. We provide inspection and survey services using drones, and we've been working with Shell with a drone in a box concept for the last year now. And as part of that, we've been pushing for permissions to fly the drone in a box BVLOS. Last year we obtained our LUC certificate in Europe. So the regulations in Europe are a little bit different to in the UK. The day-to-day regulations are the same, but the way they're set up is very different. So all member states of Europe, which UK is not part of anymore, comply under the European Aviation Safety Authority. And it is possible to get a LUC certificate, which allows you to self-certify to fly anywhere in these member states. So we have our permissions from the Dutch CAA. We have enhanced permissions then that went up the chain to EASA, and we asked them, can we self-certify anywhere in Europe? So now we can self-certify our own drone operations in any country who's a member state of Europe. So we can go from Netherlands to Italy to Romania and fly without any local permissions. Obviously, complying to all laws and regulations, making sure we're doing it safely, making sure the paperwork is filled in. There's quite a lot to go through if you're going to go around that. And then working with Shell and proving a BVLOS capability or a requirement, we obtained our BVLOS permissions under our LUC, which means that we can now undertake beyond visual line of sight flights anywhere in Europe, as long as we under our own self-certification. This is BVLOS in very specific categories and very specific scenarios. We can't fly BVLOS from Netherlands anywhere in Europe. It's mostly around kind of drone in a box ideas where we assess a site for its safety and its compliance with our regulations, and we've written all the criteria to fit that, to make sure that where the criteria we've written is to such a high standard that it's quite confining in what we can do, but nevertheless we're still able to fly on places like a petrochemical site. So some of the drones that we fly, this is kind of just an overview of our capability and where we're going in the future. So we have small indoor UAS, we fly multi-rotor UAS in the kind of the M300 scale, which gives us a lot of sensor capability. The remote drone operations now is confined to RGB, zoom video and thermal. What we're trying to do with the drone box operations is get bigger boxes that can carry a bigger drone with more sensor capability. One key sensor is emissions monitoring that we're looking to do at Shell. And then we fly fixed wing and low-level manned aircraft. Low-level manned aircraft is fantastic in the UK because it gets us around a lot of drone issues. So flying over urban areas, and it kind of up to this point negated the need for any BVLOS. But more and more we see the need for the box operations. And we offer these services in three main areas. So survey and mapping. In the UK, we have the contract with Ordnance Survey. We provide Ordnance Survey with all the drone mapping. We work with other government departments and survey companies. We do a lot of asset inspection onshore and offshore. So offshore wind farms, offshore oil and gas, as well as onshore. So across Europe and the Netherlands, we've done a lot of asset inspection for the likes of Shell, which is how we then got into these conversations about drone in a box. And then our environmental support, so emissions monitoring, oil spill response, and these kind of things. So on our journey with drone in a box systems, we've tried and tested a number of systems, and we've worked with people like Percepto in Europe. We've with our permissions in Europe, they've asked us to work with them a lot in providing mostly demonstrations to clients that they're looking to sell into. And what we've found with a lot of these systems is there's a lot of different capabilities here, a lot of different levels of reliance, safety, capability, and we've been through a lot of these trying to figure out what is the best system for such a site as a petrochemical site. And it came down to being a DJI. The DJI stuff is just much more well built, much more advanced in the tests that we've done so far. It's much more reliable. And the drones that go in there are much more can operate in a lot more environmental conditions. So some of the IDI deployer, for example, can only have the small drones. It couldn't then work in very low winds, any wind at all, and then it became undeployable. And then again, with this is the software that they use. A lot of different softwares that we've gone through, working with different partners here, and again, DJI coming out on top with that. So we've created a remote flight center in our offices. We have 6 desks set up, or 8 desks now. We have we have pilot in a box for the drone in the box. We have these boxes for flights where we need to talk to air traffic control. So we need to be on the radio to the air traffic control in some scenarios, and that environment just means that they're not being disturbed and they're locked away and they're fully focused on things. For other areas where we're not in those scenarios, in those airspaces, we operate from these desks, and we have multiple monitors with multiple software on there to look at airspace, to look at live weather and the flight planning and communications with the client. So for a period of about 8 to 9 months, or 6 to 8 months maybe, we were on site with pilots for every single drone deployment. For the box was on site and there's a pilot there overseeing things. This built up the safety case, and then only a couple of months ago we got the permissions from EASA for BVLOS based on our safety case. But by far the hardest audit was with Shell Aviation, who were in with us for a good 2 days, going through every single scenario and system and procedure, making sure that we were compliant. And we've now got the sign-off from Shell Aviation to perform these completely remotely. So for the last few weeks, we've been doing that, and already Shell now have come back and asked for more boxes on site. We're at 3 already, and they want more, and they want to jump to 24/7 drone availability. So having pilots in the office 24 hours a day who can jump on and do these flights. At the moment, there's a schedule, so we have a known schedule. All flight plans are drawn in 3D and risk assessed and site assessed and approved by the client and the site. So at all times we know, and the client knows, what flight is occurring and where the drone is going to be. There's no ad hoc flying. There's no ad hoc, can you just take a look over there? It has to be all pre-approved and pre-planned. And that's the scenario. That's been the scenario until to now, and will continue to be. But added into that is the emergency response. So the Shell now want to make us part of their emergency response plan, and have a wider plan for other sites as well with this. So that means that we need to be have 24/7 pilots available in the office. So the whole drone in a box system has been hugely resource intensive, a lot of compliance and a lot of procedural writing and making sure we're adhering to our procedures in every scenario, much more so than it would be, I think, with deploying teams. Deploying teams is a known and well practiced operation. Now with drone in a box, it's you were even one step safer and more conscious because we're remote from the drone, and so making sure that we're keeping that safety element there is super important. So yeah, it kind of, I think we see some clients say that they'll buy a drone in a box and kind of forget about this kind of element of it, the procedural element of it, the operational control and the operational resources it takes to fully implement a drone in a box system. So an overview of the site there, or part of the site, a very small fraction of the site there that we're working with. And I'm not sure if these videos will work. So a couple of videos here. I can't show any imagery or footage from the site itself, but I can show a couple of bits here. So I'm not sure if these videos will work, will they, Tony? But no, they're not. There's a video here showing the drone taking off and a video here showing the drone landing, essentially. And we had all big ideas for putting the system on a rooftop and safe away and in a protected area and the things like this. But actually Shell came back and said, look, if you're going to do that, we need a crane. Cranes take a lot of time to no-go on our site. We don't want that. If you need to do any maintenance, then it's working at height and you need to bring tools on site. And again, that's a no-go for the plant. So what we recommend is actually put it in a trailer and then you can take it off site and on site. So that was Shell's idea to do that. And this will become more permanent as time goes on. But the launch points are fixed, and are operated, and that's where we operate from all the time. So that's about it. Look at that.
So we've got 5 minutes of questions.
Okay. Just wondering if you've given any thought to how you're going to get that role in the UK.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, I don't know. Talking to the CAA, I think the great thing is having a backer like Shell and having someone who has the use case for it. I think a lot of clients, there's a lot of sites where drone in a box would be great, but having that kind of demand is really key to pushing the permissions forward. But we'll get there hopefully. Yes, Amanda.
What kind of trials have you put your systems through?
Oh, lots. Maybe something we go through after. Yeah. But like, we've got a system at our office as well that we go through a lot of different trials, a lot of different, and a lot of things that are mandated by Shell as well. They say we don't want the drones here. We want you to prove your return to home functions. We want to prove all these kind of things. And there's certain scenarios that they have created that we've had to demonstrate and prove, which.
I'd just be interested because obviously we're going down the whole baby loss, small baby steps, same as what you've gone through there. And again, the computer drones community, it seems crazy if we're going to then set up our own system trials and trial the same systems that you've just trialed. So it'd be interesting to see exactly what you've done.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can share those. Yeah, sure.
What was the business case for the actual doing it? So
yeah, I meant to say that actually. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So there was an initial business case, and as we've developed, every single department within the site operations has come to us with more and more points of interest. So there's several hundred points of interest across the site, all for different reasons, for safety, for monitoring, for overall, with just general overview of the site and site management. So they have to look at water ingress on top of the containers is one. So simple things like that, have people walking up there and just looking in it, and that was one. But then like all their safety equipment, security is another. And all these kind of points of interest are put into the flight plan. So the flight plan is mapped out, and the camera is directed at certain points and zoomed in at certain points, all automated in pre-programmed into the flight plan. So when we press go on the flight plan, we know exactly the number of images we're getting and of what targets, so that whole workflow is lined up with Shell then in the background. And then for us, it's kind of management of the flight rather than conducting a survey. We're not doing any 3D modeling on this site with the survey because there are areas we can't fly over, so photogrammetry wouldn't work. So it is just imagery at the moment, but there's other things and other sensors we want to introduce there.
What was the frequency and how does Shell digest that data?
So the frequency at the moment, there's several flights a day at the moment, and that gives again a known number of images over a known set of areas, and then that is given to Shell at the moment. They have their own AI platforms that absorb all of their other camera and robotics information that they are funneling that through. So we are purely kind of operational at this point for Shell. Yeah.
I don't wish to be too contentious, and I suspect this question is private audience here, but I noted you said DJI were your preferred solution.
Yeah.
And obviously Shell are a private undertaking at the end of the day, but there's a point at which oil and gas becomes critical national infrastructure.
Absolutely.
Have you considered the ramifications of, say, government ban on certain technologies from certain?
Absolutely, yeah. It's a big concern, and it is something we are constantly looking at for alternatives. And in our search to find alternatives, it's been difficult to find other. Maybe, yeah, exactly. It's all in consultation with Shell as well, so they're fully aware of this and they know this. But yeah, it just worked better than anything that we tried in Europe at the moment.
Can I direct them into the wider room as well?
Sure.
Is anyone aware of any homegrown drone industry yet, as in manufacturers?
Yeah.
There's Herotech 8 here, yeah.
So we manufacture the docking infrastructure, and then there's a UAV Tech, who are a UK manufacturer of drone launchers. very similar to a Parrot and AFI in capability. Not as good, arguably, as a Mavic yet, but getting closer to. So we're developing that integration for Heathrow specifically. We're working this in there this year.
So given the right legislative swing, that would be very much front and centre and benefit for you guys, which I think I approve of. So,
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
And
So-
what's quite interesting, I started to talk to a company in Geneva who do a non-drone agnostic software which replicates the software in the handset exactly, and they can prove doesn't send anything to China. That's really interesting. Really,
Very
really
good.
cool tech.
Okay,
Chatting
yeah,
about
that'd be
it's
good,
really,
yeah.
Really interesting. You can actually control the aircraft as well, either the full access or just the gimbal, depending on where you are in the world. And they've managed to prove that they could do that, and they're doing the same software for other drones as well now, so that for the likes of us, if we have that role, at least we can perhaps mitigate it temporarily with more of those.
So you can have the hardware and just flash it with a sanitised operating system.
Basically,
That would be good, yeah.
You just cancel the drone DJI software and you install theirs, and it does exactly the same thing. It looks exactly the same.
Okay. Very interesting. Yeah.
So yeah.
Point that.
We
Yeah.
did run a session with Special Forces, Special Forces head of police on DGI, and it's maybe something we should run again. It was he went through what actually DGI actually do. It was very, very interesting. Maybe we should run that again. It got
Absolutely.
good reviews. I don't know if it's because it was just Special Forces.
Is it really true, or is it just a political football?
No.
I think. Yeah.
But there is, you can mitigate. They're doing. That's what his end story was. Fundamentally, you can utilize them, and they do use them, but they're very, very careful of closing those back doors, and there are ways that you can actually close down what you're doing. It's like any piece of software. If you leave the door open and click to call the PSR, send your marketing, and that's what you'll get. But we could run that again if the community wants it.
That would be interesting.
It was a very, very interesting guy.
Is there a cyber security risk to all these drones and boxes that can be?
That's something where there's a big part of what we're doing is making sure that's secure.
But that's everything.
See? But that's everything. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
When I was on the AI track, I noticed that you said you put your drone in a box on a trailer.
Yeah.
Obviously, if it's on a shell location, maybe it's secure, but it sounds a little bit too easy to steal.
Well, yeah. No, on the show location, it's all within the boundary. It's all, and all that's part of the consideration of what we're doing. That was actually Shell's advice to us to do that. So, yeah, very practical. No problem. Thank you.